another episode of Social Jello with Angelo podcast. If this is your first podcast, this is a podcast about martial arts and much more. Today we're talking about a phrase that I think every modern Kajukenbo instructor has probably heard at some point. That's not Kajukenbo. Maybe you've heard it online. Maybe you heard it at a seminar. Maybe you heard it from somebody who's not actually even trained in Kajukenbo. It doesn't exactly know what it's supposed to look like. Or maybe it was something that they didn't recognize. Maybe it was a kickboxing technique, a grappling technique, a drill, or even a traditional technique from a different lineage. Usually the same reaction you'll get is always the same. That's not Kajukenbo. Today we're going to look at a few techniques and break down why we teach them the way we do and ask a bigger question. Who gets to decide what Kajukenbo is? Because Kajukenbo has always been evolved. It's literally a martial, like a hybrid martial art. So the founders weren't coming up with anything new. They weren't reinventing the wheel. They were just borrowing ideas, testing ideas, and adapting ideas from day one, which makes it very different from other arts out there. So if you're not a Kajukenbo practitioner, I definitely encourage you to check out What is Kajukenbo podcast with John Hackelman and several other big names in Kajukenbo, Chuck Liddell's coach. If you want to see that, check it out there. But right now we're going to be going into this, and I really hope you enjoy it. We're going to explore that. So again, I'm not trying to start an argument or attack anyone. I'm sure some of you will do that in the comments later. But I just want to have a conversation about what Kajukenbo is, where it's been, and where it's going, and whether adapting is actually part of his DNA in the art itself. Today I have our guest, Carlos Del Valle. What's up, Carlos? A returning guest. He's almost a resident at this point. How many times have you heard someone say to you, "That's not Kajukenbo"?
Well, it's the comment's been out there. That's not Kajukenbo, but it's funny because you know who my teachers are, right? I trained Great Grandmaster Jason Groff, Grandmaster Nathaniel Ortega, Grandmaster David Duque, and those three right there, their Kajukenbo looks different automatically. Look at the tree. It's humongous, and everybody's Kajukenbo looks different anyway, right? So it's like Great Grandmaster Jason Groff tells me, everybody has their flavor. Like, I'm a grappler, right? I like to grapple. So if you come to my school, my Kajukenbo school, you're gonna get, the Kajukenbo material, but we might focus a little bit heavier on the grappling.
Well, I think it's funny. You just mentioned something right there. Right? I can grab this whole "that's not Kajukenbo" to "that's not kickboxing" to "that's not jiu-jitsu." Like, that idea in itself, right? Right now, I just got, right before I did the podcast, I was saying, I'm caught up in a chat right now. I'm caught in a chat and a small debate with a friend of mine because I went to an MMA match, an MMA meetup. And at the MMA meetup in the stand-up circle, where all the kickboxers were, I'd always tell the guys before we get started, hey, let's go light. I'm 44. I'm not here to full blast anyone. I'm not doing full contact today. I'm coaching. I'm literally coaching little kids while sparring. I'm not going to get hurt. Nope, I'm not going to do it. And if someone breaks this rule, if they start going full contact on me, after I specifically told them, hey, let's go light, my immediate reaction is going to be to clinch, because I know kickboxers have a really hard time with grappling. So I'm going to start clinching. I'm not going to clinch like a Muay Thai kickboxer. I'm going to clinch and take your back. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clinch like a wrestler, take your back, right? But then someone in the comments said, that's like going to a jiu-jitsu class and throwing jabs. Like, no, it's not. I'm still clinching. I'm just not going to sit there and do a Muay Thai clinch. There's no rules that says that you can't clinch and take someone's back. There's a rule that says you can't take their back and hit them in the punch in the back of the head. That would be an asshole move, right? But again, that's the same kind of mentality, right? You just mentioned right there. Just like in that small thing, that's not Kajukenbo, that's not this. I mean, in kickboxing, it's a more specific rule set. Kajukenbo, we take that back to Kajukenbo, you have a broader range of things you can work with. So,
absolutely. And why not?
And then my question would be then is, what do you think people actually mean when they say that?
I think when people say, that doesn't look like Kajukenbo, I think they're talking about like the old school videos that were put out. They look at that, and if it doesn't look like that, that's their definition of Kajukenbo, right? But then they were people weren't exposed to the other lineages. You have Kajukenbo lineages that look like straight up kung fu.
Yeah, I was just talking to the guy in the page right now, and I wasn't even trying to attack him like, that's not Kajukenbo. In fact, I don't frame it. If I see something that doesn't fit, after interviewing 200 people, after being involved in Kajukenbo for 20 years, when I see something that doesn't fit what I've seen from the people I've known, my first question is, that's not, my first thing isn't to attack and say that's not Kajukenbo. My first question, because I think questions are really important, instead of like statements, is what branch are you coming from? Because once I know what branch they're coming from, I'll have a little more of a reference point on why they're doing what they're doing. So the guy was showing a Charlie Foot technique. I said, hey, what branch are you coming from? He was, oh, I'm from Tony Lass's branch. Oh, okay. They're a little more kung fu oriented, right? Automatically. And then he's like, and then even he said, oh, you know, I started going more into the kung fu stuff and more. That's great.
Right.
Awesome. I think people, when they ask that question about, it's not even a fucking question. It's an attack. That's not Kaji Kembo. Is not a question, right? I think what's happening is in their head, they are afraid that this is someone who's claiming Kajukenbo when they're not Kajukenbo at all, which is what we both know. Fucking ridiculous, bro. If I'm gonna fake claim something, I'd rather fake claim like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu because that'd get me more students than the marketing for Kajukenbo.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah.
So, my next question, bro, is Kajukenbo a collection of techniques or is it a philosophy adaptation? And we don't have to beat the dead horse on this one. We've talked about this a lot.
It's both. It's both because, I mean, isn't Kajukenbo a street martial art? It was made for the streets, right? But I don't think the streets are something you can learn. Like, you have to be from the streets, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not something that you can learn, you know, just to learn. It has to be, like, in your blood. Like, you know, I grew up when my mother first came to New York. I grew up like in the worst areas, South Bronx, and then we moved to Brooklyn, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and then we moved to the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Those were the three worst like neighborhoods back in the 80s, in the early 80s. And I'm the Puerto Rican guy from Puerto Rico that looked like a white boy. So you know, I had to fight. You know. And you know, you people have the stories. Oh, I got picked on as a kid. Get out of here! I fought back. I was small, but I fought back. You know, I'm not into the sob story thing. Yeah, but did they try to pick on me? Yeah, but I fought back. I'll stab you with a pencil. I don't care. You know, you're not gonna. You think you're gonna go home unscathed? Like I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna hit you back. Yeah. But that's something that, right? The Kajukenbo mentality, right? You have to apply that to the way you train. Yeah, you can't. You know, it's because some people do that, right? You've seen people like they, for example, they throw punches, right? And they throw punches like this. I'm like, dude, you're not even aiming at the person's face. Yeah, they're gonna block. You know, like, and people practice like that. I've seen it. I've seen black belts, high-level black belts practice like this. I'm like, dude, aim for the face. Like, I don't even have to move for this. You know, take a punch, take a hit, throw the person down hard on the floor. Some people aren't used to this. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I'm avoiding what you're saying because I'll divert into a completely different podcast. Just to stay on topic. Yes, you're right. There are a lot of people.
Philosophy.
Yeah, there are.
I knew that was gonna happen. Shoot. Darn it.
I train hard. I work in a site facility. You know what I'm saying? I've been stabbed at my job. I have to be alert. I have to train hard. You know? And for example, that post I was working for, if you don't like doing throws, don't ask to train. Because some people don't like to be thrown.
Yeah, that's another.
If you don't like doing throws, if you can't take a throw, don't even ask to train with me.
So, do Kajukenbo black belts from different lineages have completely different versions of Kajukenbo and both be right?
Absolutely. Why not? Absolutely. That's like going to, we're both Puerto Rican, right? I go to your house, both makes, pollo cooking, right? Mine makes it another way, but it's delicious. It's both a little bit different, right? Your mom might like olives in hers, my mom might have capers, right? It doesn't, but they're both delicious. They're just a little different thing.
Yeah.
Yours might serve yours with avocado, mine might serve.
I think what we're really alluding to here is when someone says that's not Kajukenbo, what they're really saying is that's not the way I learned it. Or when they say that's not my arroz con pollo, that's just not the way I cook my arroz con pollo. But arroz con pollo, Chicken and rice is chicken and rice, you know?
Yeah, the beautiful thing is, and you know my story already. I like learning different lineages to learn that. I want to know why you do your punch counters that way. I want to know why you do your punch counters this way. And you should be able to, be like, oh, okay, this is this lineage. Oh, that's that lineage. Are they wrong? No, man. Put them in the database. Put them in the database. Learn them. Ask a few questions.
All right. Well, I think that is a great way to segue into our next part. So what we're really going to do now is we're going to take a look at techniques that I've taught, that Carlos has taught. Take a look at them, and we're going to talk about why we teach them the way they do. And hopefully, for those of you watching, this will give you an idea of what instructors, what black belts look at when they're looking at stuff, why they do what they do, and also keep an eye out about how we may or may not criticize how we do things differently. Because online, it can get really easy to attack someone and not just ask questions. It can get really easy to attack someone and not ask questions to get their context. So keep an eye on that. Our first technique coming up, Carlos does this kind of out of the box thing, right? He trains out of a Gracie Baja. Oh, he's out of a lot of places, but one of the places he coaches is a Gracie Baja school. And he does this series called Connecting the Dots, where he puts together other arts and connects it back to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and how it can be applied there. Here's a video that we took from that series, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit share here. So, also, if you're watching this as a listening to this as a podcast, I highly recommend that you just talking about. We will try to break down what we're looking at as we see it, but just keep that in mind if you are watching this podcast. So here's our show right here. Here's Carlos. Carlos, you have a stick in your hand here from the screen series. I have the volume on. Do you want me to turn the volume off, or do you want to hear what you had to say first?
I could explain that as we go. Do you want me to explain it real quick?
Well, what I'll do is I'm going to press play. I'm going to turn off the volume. If you're going to talk, I'm going to turn off the volume so you can talk right now. That probably works.
Okay, no problem.
So I'm going to turn off the volume right now and just explain real quick what you're seeing here. Right?
Alright, so this is for my series Connecting the Dots. So what I'm doing basically here, I'm showing the 12 angles of attack from Serrata Eskrima and how they could be applied to your grips, right? For jiu-jitsu or judo or sambo, any grip art, grappling art that you do. So that's strike number 1 right there. Okay, strike number 1 is when you're hitting with your stick to the shoulder blade. Look, I'm going to show it right now, see? That's the attack, right? And then what it is, I apply those same movements, right, to my grip, see? It translates to the first grip. All right, so there's 12 strikes, right? And I did all 12 strikes in relation to a different type of grip.
Okay.
And the reason why I ripped this series is because people are like, well, this is stupid. This doesn't make sense. How can this work? And I'm like, well, it works in the system that you're doing. It's just something different, right? But instead of marking it, ask questions. Right, look.
Yeah, you can grab the belt. And then,
Yeah.
I guess my immediate question to you, so like, and it's funny, and we're going to stop right there. I think that's good for anybody watching. And then for anybody who wants to see more of this series, this entire series, this whole video is like a 6-minute video, I think. Yeah, it's a 10-minute video where he breaks it down really well. It's like almost it's a free instructional. So go on his Facebook page at Carlos Del Valle. It's a public page. You can just jump on there and you can see the whole video if you want to do that. So now my question, you said people, and I want to know what people. Let's start with the hate. What kind of hate do you receive from? We'll start with the least obvious one, right? Anybody who does Eskrima. What's the kind of hate you receive when you're like, hey, you can do grips this way, you can grapple this way, you can do this way, you can play. What's the hate?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't received any hate at all. Actually, people are like, I never thought about it like that.
The Eskrima guys.
Yeah, and a lot of people that were never taught that. Okay. They're like, wow, I never thought about this like that. And I'm like, yeah, because you guys don't ask questions. It's so much easier to just make fun of something, right? Instead of people that say, oh, you're not gonna wear a key outside. The key's stupid. I'm like, dude, that looks like a shirt and pants to me. What do you mean? What do you mean? It's right there. Right there. Don't only thing is the gi's a little bit tougher, right? A little bit stronger, double weave, single weave, so we can train harder.
Yeah, it won't rip off. It won't rip right away.
You know, but people are starting to open up to it. They're like, I haven't received any craziness yet. They're really like, yo, I never thought about it like that.
What about the other way? What about the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? When you bring in a Screamer stick, what do the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys say?
Well, they're interested in it. They're like, well, what is that? I'm like, well, it could be an umbrella. You know, look, I have this right here right now, right? This could be something that I could use with the same strikes, right? I could do the same strikes, right? But people don't see things in that manner, right? It's just easier to mock something.
But I guess my question is, have you been mocked?
No. Actually, I've had some good. I had one of my students yesterday. They were like, I never thought about it like that. I said, that's a really good thing. They were like, you continue making that because it opened up my eyes to different techniques.
And then no one said anything bad online either.
No, I've never received anything. As a matter of fact, they're like, this is very interesting. But that's the comment that I've received. But I've seen people that have made videos like that. They've been mocked and stuff like that. You know, and I'm
That's
like,
what I was gonna say. And I wouldn't even doubt, like right now I put it on here, I'm sure someone people talk shit on my channel. Maybe I just have a harsher crowd.
and it's fine. The thing is, it's right there. It's just explained as something else, right? You have that overhand, that overhand grip, all right? But it's not explained in that manner. But when you put it together, look, it's the same pattern. Oh, I never thought about that.
Well, yeah, I think it's pretty cool to bring that in. How about, and then this would be my only, like I said, some external criticism. What some people have said, because like I said, I have a harsher crowd. I have a harsher crowd. People of me on my channel. What I've heard some people say is that when you're trying to do, as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu person, when you start bringing in like weapons, a stick, or even, we'll just keep it a stick, because if I go down the knife path, I'll never come back. With a stick, what a lot of them will get at is they feel that FMA guys spend way too much time with sticks and not real application like grappling, which has resistance, and there's a little too many flow drills happening, and that's where the main stuff happens.
They spend time training all that, but they're showing you what they want you to see. Online, you want to learn some of that good stuff, come train, right? How much can you teach, on a 5-minute video, right?
Yeah.
What looks cool? What does everybody want to see? The John Wick stuff, right? The Hubot. You grab, you pass, this, that looks cool. But when it's time to do the real applications and stuff, that takes time to learn, right? Now it's not a 3-minute video online. Now, on YouTube or whatever. Now you got to come to class.
And then the flip side critiques I've gotten whenever I showed grappling stuff on FMA pages was grappling's not going to work in the street. If you go to the ground, they're going to stomp you. That's the critique I see from the other side that I've seen from FMA guys.
And they can because it's a fight. It's a fight. The person's not just going to stay there and let you do something to them. Right? The reality is a fight is a damn fight. That other person wants to survive also, whether they're trying to kill you or not. Right? I'm not just going to stay. If you attack me or I attack, they're not going to stay there like this. They're going to fight back. It's a fight. It is what it is. They might, you do let's do an armbar. Try an armbar on the street. Right? Like that one gentleman that you had on your podcast. Right? He said he bit the person's leg. Oh, you can't do that. Well, I just did.
Yeah, he bit a person's arm. They tried to get him in a RNC, and before they locked in the RNC, he bit them in the forearm, and they freaked out. they freaked out. It was just a black belt. Yeah, that was a great interview from what you got there. All right.
Yeah. And imagine somebody doing an armbar on you. You have that nice chunk of leg on top of your face.
Or like you mentioned before, I think on another episode that because you work in a psych ward, right? And if you work in any type of situation, any type of self-defense work where you have to deal with people who are dangerous off the street, you might have this problem with people who are homeless. You might have a problem with people who carry diseases. So if they bite you, you're gonna have a lot of problems. Or even if they scratch you and have a lot of problems.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you'll survive the fight, but you're gonna have to go to the doctor. All right.
Yeah.
The next technique we're gonna show is coming from my series. I made a series a while back called Grappling for Kajukenbo. Grappling for strikers, people who don't. Not to say that Kajukenbo guys. Well, that's a totally different podcast. I'll just say, some Kajukenbo, a lot of Kajukenbo folks really prefer striking over grappling. So, because of that, I'm not gonna say all of them. Carlos is a Kajukenbo person who obviously also holds a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he does not have a problem with these things. But some people do. So I decided to make a quick free series, because I think that free is a big one. I always feel like access is a big, so I made a free series for Kajukenbo folks, just to kind of have a broad idea of some things that I found in my journey in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that work to escape basic positions in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, this one coming up here. Let's see here. Okay, here's that right there. It's shared.
Your father is part of the experimental program.
Dr. Frankenstein, we think we understand reality.
Alright, we'll go over the same thing. I'll turn off the volume. And so here I'm talking about how if someone has you in closed guard, and I mentioned it right before you even get started, so you can have a nice base, and they talk about how you put the knee down the center line to put an open closed guard. But then I also talk about the idea that in some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools, this technique, when I put the elbow into the thigh like that, they'll say that you're being an asshole. They won't use the word asshole in Japan, but I've done that. When I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when I went from submission grappling catch wrestling place to a more, I'm not going to name it because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I went to a big dojo, and Carlos knows who I'm talking about, but I went to a bigger Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu conglomerate, and they told me not to do this because it's too aggressive and it's too mean to do this on. So, either way. But I felt it's very effective. So I talk about keeping pressure, pass, make sure you keep the pressure as you go along, make sure you keep pressure and control the leg as you pass guard, that way they don't put you in half guard and any of that stuff, and then how you can establish side control from there. It's a pretty basic video. I don't think this is any rocket science, and again, I'm not reinventing the wheel. Talk about how chest-to-chest pressure is important, not to put your center line on the stomach, because then it's easier for them to bridge. And that's the end. That's not the end of the instruction. Again, if you want to see the whole thing, it's a 5-minute video. I go over it. It's under my my grappling series on YouTube. So we'll start off with any questions you have, and then I'll tell you some of the critiques I've received.
No, that to me that's perfect. Let me tell you, that's old school jiu-jitsu there. Everybody was doing that when I started like 25, 30 years ago. It is what it is. It was being used. As a matter of fact, that technique right there is part of the McMat program for the Marine Corps. Yep. They grab you in the guard, right? You open up the leg, strike. You cover up your face. You throw the leg over, stand up, and you stop. So it's right there. And then people just, you know what it is? It's at one point, people are just weird. It's, oh, that's too dangerous. An armbar is dangerous.
I mean, that's a funny one right there. Well, I mean, it's all fucking dangerous. What we do, everything, it's all dangerous.
You know, an armbar, a choke is dangerous. You got little kids doing chokes on each other, right? It's all dangerous. You're learning how to kill somebody. You're learning how to kill somebody. That's the main point of it.
Yeah, you're learning how to kill someone or not be killed. And then, we'll take it up a notch. As a martial artist, you start being taught not just how to kill someone, but how to stop someone from trying to kill you while still trying to not go to prison yourself. That's a fucking challenge. And that's why I said, like, to me, and you said, I'm glad you said that. Where I got that from was old school Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
That's old school Brazilian. Everybody was doing that. When I first started, everybody was doing that.
And the funny thing is, I picked that up. I don't reinvent the wheel here. People watch that video. They didn't watch that video. I'm talking about critiques I got in class with teaching this. That's the place right now. And I was thinking to myself, when I first walked into my first submission grappling, it's catch wrestling in Japan.
That's one of the first things you learn.
Yes. I went to class. I was like, hey, I'm having a really hard time getting out of closed guard once we take out striking.
Oh.
Because I'm used to striking. I come from an MMA background. The way I normally get out of closed guard is I punch the guy in the face, and he doesn't want to be in closed guard anymore. That was my. So, but if once you take away the strikes, I need to find out an effective way. And then he said, okay, well, he said, my instructor said, well, don't drop the elbow. You can in MMA, but don't drop the elbow on them in grappling. But you can grind them, and that is in the rule set, and that's not being an asshole. Dropping the elbow on, doing a 12-6 elbow under their thigh,
which I highly recommend for women.
Oh yeah, oh for yourself, yeah.
That is an excellent technique for women. Just hard, boom,
Yeah,
bring and hit
12-6, boom, double 12-6.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So for women, please do that as hard as you want and get them off you.
and you can go 12-6 to the thigh, 12-6 to the groin. And I say this stuff, and then jiu-jitsu guys go nuts. Oh, they talked about hitting the groin, blah blah blah.
Well, it's like listen, I've been through the whole phase. You remember at one point they were saying leg locks are dirty?
Oh yeah,
Right?
that wasn't even like. It was like 3 years ago. They finally made the straight ankle lock legal in IBJJF. But before that,
There was a match. I think it was in Metamoris, and they did some. I forgot the match, but something was done where it involved legs, and all of a sudden, let's do legs. Let's do leg stuff. I'm like, yo, but the Sambo guys have been doing legs
the whole time.
Sambo guys were doing leg stuff. I was doing leg stuff in Sambo since 1998 when I learned that on the Master Gunnery Sergeant Carter Urso in the Marine Corps. We were doing leg locks at that time.
1998, right? And then like, for me, the second, I'm a little younger than you, going like 10 years, but when I got to Japan, and that was 14 years ago now, so what, 2004? No, that's 20 years. I can't do my math. 2014, no, 2010. In 2010, when I got to Japan, and I transitioned from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school that I was at. That's a traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school that I'm not going to not name any names and not throw anybody in the bus. It's a traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school, and they never taught me any leg locks. They were just more about really about the Gracie fundamentals. Without naming which Gracie school, they were really about the Gracie fundamentals, which was a lot of like, a guy gets you in a headlock, how to escape a headlock. The guy goes for, you know what I'm talking about, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And at that point, I learned a lot of fundamentals arm bars. I've been doing it for about 4 to 5 years at that point. It was all just fundamentals. Arm bars, position training, triangle chokes, RNC, all the stuff you see back then in the UFC. And I get to Japan, and I go to that first submission grappling class, and in sparring, I got caught in my first heel hook. And I was like, holy crap. And then I got caught in a bar, and then I got caught in a neck crank. And I got caught in all these techniques that I've never even fucking heard of. Got caught in what's that one that Eddie Bravo calls the spinal tapper or something? He's got some crazy.
Oh,
The twister.
the twister.
Yeah. The twister. I got caught in the twister. And mind you, the guy catching me in all this stuff never knew who. I was like, oh, I kind of briefly seeing something about Eddie Bravo about that, right? On his book. And I brought that up to him, and he looked at me. He's like, he's Japanese. He's like, who's Eddie Bravo? Because he's Japanese. He's coming from the Sakubara team. So like, that's where he's coming. Catch wrestling. So and if you look at the history of catch in Japan, it's very tied to sambo. It's very tied to sambo and all that stuff too. It's their crossfitting. So like, what's interesting is seeing this conversation. We started this whole conversation. Well, that's not Kaji Kembo, right? And I told you earlier, this argument comes up. Well, that's not jiu-jitsu. Oh, that's not this. That's not that. And honestly, I think as a Kaji Kembo instructor, as a Kaji Kembo person, I really don't care. To be honest, I really don't care. I prefer what you just said right now. In the Marine Corps, in our Marine Corps program, we had that technique, right? I'm looking for more of that kind of stuff. I can really give a shit what you want to call it. I just know it works. Like you said earlier, if it works, then I want to know more about it. And then I might even do like a reverse engineer thing where I'll see a technique that works and start digging into the style that it came from to learn more about it. So I think you're connecting the whole series. touching on that. Now we're gonna move on to our next segment. You mentioned we're teaching people, how to defend themselves, and in some cases, even how to kill each other. Even kids. I think that's a good.
Yeah, we got kids choking each other, right?
And in this next video, you don't have a kid choking someone, but go ahead and explain what's going on here. You're showing a technique to a 3-year-old. So I'm gonna go.
Yeah. She's one of my 3-year-olds. Right there, look. Simple, fundamental. Right there, and I'm just telling her